So welcome back to We're Not Really Here. We are in the studio here at the Etihad Stadium, and I am joined on the sofa today by Shaun, Michael Brown, and of course Kyle Walker. So half-time in today's game, we are 1-0 down. We are going to have a little talk about that goal, but we're also going to look for some positives from that first half because, we were on top before the goal and certainly after the goal as well. So do stick with us here. We're going to try and make you feel more positive as we go into the second half. And of course, 3 of the 4 people on the sofa in the predictions did say that they expected West Ham to score 1 goal, but that we would score 2, 3 and 4. So lots to be positive about. But first of all, we're going to have a talk about that West Ham goal. Now, Mikel Antonio was a player that we highlighted in the pre-match show a lot. We talked about him as somebody that we needed to look out for. And of course, sometimes we are sadly right on this sofa. Before we look at the goal, though, as part of the build-up play to that goal, Michael, there was an incident that all of us in the studio here thought looked like a handball. You've been fortunate enough to be able to look back at that a few times, which we haven't quite been able to do. Give us your thought on that build-up there.
Well, I think it was everybody's going to say that's a handball, looking at it from a Manchester City perspective. I personally did, Shaun did, and we were watching as Souček tried to get in front. It looked like it struck his arm as he then sort of took the ball to the line, delivered the ball back, and the cross came in. But after looking at it, I think it was Peter Banks, who's VAR today. They've had a look, they've highlighted, and when they've rerun the clips and looked at the slow-mos, I think the official line was there's no clear evidence to say that it struck his arm. So yes, we've talked about rule changes last year and this year, but actually the evidence on this occasion, which they've looked at, is to say when they've slow-moed it, there's no clear evidence that it struck the arm.
Now, normally in this situation, Manchester City you'd think would bounce back. But Shaun, one thing that you did bring up and you pointed out was the response to that going 1-0 down doesn't feel like they've actually got the speed, the counter-attack. They're not creating as much and creating as many chances, let's say, as they normally would.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we watch City, and it isn't often, when we concede a goal, I'm actually glad. And because I know that we've got 2 or 3 levels where we can go and raise our tempo, move and shift the ball. We've conceded the goal today, and I'm expecting within 2 to 3 minutes a shift in sort of the tempo. And I haven't quite seen it. And what I've seen is when we win the ball back and West Ham have thrown 4 or 5 bodies forward, I think there's opportunities for us to counterattack. And I think we get into this possession to a point where we keep it and keep it and keep it. And this is what the players are drilled to shift and move the ball to then create these certain situations to then create almost like the perfect goal. I'd like to see us just once or twice when they're attacking us, we've won possession, go bang. 3, 4 passes, we're on the edge of their box and making them be a little bit more panicky. So that's something I'd like to see. I think we will see it on 1 or 2 occasions because, again, we've got to raise the tempo just a bit.
But sometimes also you've got to hold your hands up as well and just say that sometimes great goals are scored against us. Might be, a little bit disappointed with the cross that perhaps went in for the Mikel Antonio goal. But in terms of the goal itself, Shaun, yeah. I mean, it's a fantastic finish by him.
It is. It's an absolute beautiful finish. And my first thought was, okay, as a defender, could he have done more? And I would say he actually couldn't. I think it's Ruben Diaz that's actually on him. He couldn't do more because Antonio is probably one of the strongest centre forwards in the Premier League. So he's not an easy player to maneuver around and get in front of. So I think he's held his ground, he's held Ruben Diaz to allow that space so that he can do that. Overhead
Shaun, do you know when you say
volley.
He holds him? Do you know when you say he holds him? Does Diaz take a slight gamble? Does he go to the right-hand side of Mikel Antonio and try to get his foot round to wrap to try and get that contact? And is that the mistake? So you as a striker, you're holding him back, aren't you? You want to feel that defender to roll him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you don't... Does Diaz try to pinch it? Does he try to go around the right-hand side, which allows Mikel Antonio to have his left arm out, to get that sort of strength on him to hold, to then flick the ball? It's a wonderful finish, fabulous goal. But do you possibly think that's where he's gained the advantage?
I think he's gained the advantage because what they say is ball side, goal side if you're defending. So Ruben Diaz, if the cross is coming from the left, should be on the left-hand side of Antonio. So if anything, he controls the ball, but doesn't volley it. Or if he volleys it, perhaps it could hit Ruben Diaz. So, and not only that, if he's on the left side, he's probably then able to get a toe poke on that. So perhaps not being, if he's another half a yard or a yard to his left, he probably stops that volley. So he'll probably look at his position and saying he could be in a better position to perhaps stop that volley.
Brownie, how important is the consistency within the team? Because we saw an unchanged 11 from Pep Guardiola. It's the first time he's done that in consecutive games in 3 years, since October 2017. Well, that stat in itself is incredible when you actually think about it. But this is the second time in 2 games that the defence has played together. How important is it that they have to actually build up a run of games together, not just 1 or 2?
Well, it just shows you the amount of games that Manchester City have. Pep Guardiola does make those changes. The squad's so big, and he'll look at the bigger picture, as you've seen from that amount of time, not the same sort of side played, that he has to rotate it. He has to move it on. On this occasion, he's decided to keep the same side, which we all like to see. As a player, you sort of, if I've done well on Tuesday night, I want to play, whether Wednesday night, whatever it may be, you want to play again. But I would say is, yes, there's controlling possession. You're getting that continuity, but chances created. Shots at goal, only 4. 1 shot on target for a Manchester City side, which, offensively look very, very strong. Yes, it's a Sergio Aguero that is still getting up to fitness. But the worrying stat for me is, I think, the last 6 times Manchester City have been behind by a goal, they haven't gone on and won the game. So that's something they'll be looking at to go and try and change around.
And on that, let's get some positives now so that we can all feel optimistic going into this second half. We talked there about sort of chances created and the need to create a few more chances in this half. Bernardo Silva perhaps hasn't been in the game as much as we saw him, and he had that insane performance in the Arsenal game last week. Do you think we might be looking to see if we can get Silva into the game a bit more, or are you starting to look to the bench already, Shaun?
No, I wouldn't necessarily look to the bench. I think what we're finding is and they haven't really even played 5 at the back end, but they have had two good banks and being solid. I think what we're finding with Bernardo, he's finding it tough to find those pockets and us getting the ball to him, and that's because us going from defense into the middle third, it's a bit slow. And if we get that quicker, we'll get the ball into Bernardo Silva, into those pockets, get in turn, to then be able to drive at defenses, slip balls wide or through balls, and then we'll be a lot more potent in terms of our creativity as well.
Now, this is not, of course, the only game that is happening today as well. There is another game. The EDS are over at the CFA and they are playing Arsenal. Now, what a game. You can watch this game live on City Plus. And if you are dueling it and watching both games, you've been in for a right treat. So we can see, first of all, Arsenal have opened the scoring in the game today. So Arsenal were up 1-0. And then an incredible incident happened in the game. The Arsenal goalkeeper, Kyle Hine, was sent off for a foul on Nemechi, which we can see now. He is sent off, and Arsenal have made that age-old error of not having a substitute goalkeeper on the bench. So the Arsenal keeper is off, and that has forced them into putting a defender in goal. I absolutely love it when an outfield player is forced in goal. Of course, Kyle Walker has an insane record in goal. We can remember that. So the Arsenal keeper is off. They now have a defender in goal, and it's coming now. City have equalised. Felix Nemecha fouled and now scored. So you can catch that game live over on City Plus.
Now back to the game that's happening today at the London Stadium. Just very quickly before the second half does kick off. West Ham are going to slow this game down now. They're in the driving seat, 1-0 up. They're at home. What do Manchester City do to kind of combat that? Well,
I think that it's difficult. I think Manchester City's setup at the moment against a back 5 find it slightly difficult. So they've got to increase the tempo, create opportunities. I think that's where Pep is good. He realises where those little spaces we've seen at recent times where he'd move a wide player more central into another role. He's brilliant at finding those gaps, but now they've got to do it. They've got to do it quickly and really put West Ham on the back foot, really try to set the tempo. Yes, I would expect to see some changes ultimately because of the result at the moment. But it's a game, we know Manchester City, we know how well they can do second half. I expect them to come out and be a different side.
For me, something Cancelo is not playing bad, but what I'd like to see is a natural left-footed fullback, because what that allows is going down that left side and being able to continue going. So whether it's a ball played inside and continue your run and being very comfortable knowing when that ball is returned to you, you're then in a position left-footed to be able to whip that ball across or find a pass. So that gives a real good balance for City going forward. So it'll be interesting whether we use a fullback coming on in the second half at some point.
Now, there is a poll that is happening that you can get involved in. You can vote for your favourite player that has played for both Manchester City and West Ham. Pablo Zabaleta is currently in the lead. He's still leading with 49%. And then Carlos Tevez is second with 29%. And Ian Bishop is third with 22%. So make sure you get involved in that at full time. We'll be bringing in the final numbers and who is winning in our favourite player for Manchester City taking on West Ham.
I'm going to get voting on that now in a second. So the second half is about to kick off. A big thank you to all the guests on the sofa. We'll be here at full time and hopefully you'll be seeing lots of smiling faces. There's still a chance that the predictions of 2-1, 3-1 and 4-1 could come true.